All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into it. The biggest what ifs of this century. Ox, you want to go ahead and kick us off?
When you say of this century, that means like for the past 100 years or since 2000?
Since 2000.
Uh, damn. Okay.
I mean, if you want to talk about some older guys, we can. Like,
Nah,
we
cause
don't
I want to, cause y'all gonna think I'm bugging, but I'm still gonna say it anyway. Sounds crazy, but the biggest what if of all time is actually Michael Jordan.
Wow.
Oh, if he didn't retire, well, quit twice.
If he didn't quit 2 times, it wouldn't be no conversation for who's the GOAT. Wouldn't be no conversation at all about who's the GOAT. You know what I mean? I that's why I look at it. Like these other guys, if maybe they stay healthy, it's like, okay, yeah, what happens? They might get a deep playoff run here or there. They might score a couple thousand more points here or there. You know, except for maybe Penny. Penny probably gets him a ring or two. The other guys is kind of like, who knows what really happens? But we know for a fact, if Jay sticks around for those years, how many years is out of retirement? That's 4 years? No. It's like 5 more years.
He missed 18 months from 94 to 95.
So we just call that 2 seasons.
We
call that 2 seasons.
And then he retired in 98, came back in 2001. And he came back in 2001. So that's 3.5 years. So that's what, 5.5 years?
So yeah, so we call it, let's just call it four full seasons, right?
Okay. So 4 years.
Yeah, and of that, I think he can get 3 rings. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, if that man sticks around for those times, I think Jay's the biggest what if.
I think Jay
retired. If he wasn't such a degenerate in the mid 90s, stuck around and did his thing, you know what I mean? He would be undisputed to go. There would be no conversation about is LeBron better or is this person or that person. That's the biggest what if of all time. If Jay wasn't a degenerate,
I don't know, Ox. I think that him retiring in 1993 really helped him because, like, what happens if they don't beat the Rockets? How we talking about Jay then?
We can't duck that competition. You know what I'm saying? We you know.
That's what I mean.
I think they smoked the Rockets though. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, well, no, they beating the Rockets."
They had a really difficult time with the Houston Rockets. Really difficult with them.
And they at least go 1-1.
Right, but
at the least.
Even if that's true, we still ain't talking about him like we talk about him now.
If he has 7 rings, I know I am.
I'm 7-1.
Well,
I'm not one of those guys that does that 4-6 to LeBron thing. I don't do that. So no,
I don't do that neither.
Okay, but this is what I'm saying though. This is what I'm saying. If we're saying LeBron is the GOAT at 4-6, then why do we talk differently about Jordan at 7-1?
Well, the argument
8-1 because he wins 99 too. Go ahead, Chill.
The argument is the argument is 6-0. That's the argument. The argument for him from the masses is the fact that he went 6-0 in the finals. They had a real tough time with the Houston Rockets. And the question is, you already saw that crew get broken up after Jordan retired. Even if Jordan was there, you saw them moving on. Like Horace Grant moved on. Even when Jordan left, he had moved on. So does that crew stay together? We don't know if that crew stays together. Does Jordan with the Rocket playing against the Rockets, do they really beat them? Not once, but do they beat them at all? I mean, because the Rockets had a really favorable time with the Bulls. I mean, they couldn't do anything as much as you talk about Jay, they couldn't do anything with Olajuwon. And Phil Jackson was the dude who made it clear that he doesn't double. Robert Horry is on record talking about how he had a difficult time when he was with the Lakers dealing with Tim Duncan and he wouldn't double. So the idea that Olajuwon is playing against the Bulls, so he's got to go against Cartwright. He not only go against Cartwright, but who else? He's got to go against. Is Luke Longley on the crew at that point? So,
well, this also the thing too. So it turned into a ring conversation, but I didn't necessarily mean for it to go strictly there. I'm talking about all the other stats that go.
Well, that 31,000 points, that 32,000 points he got, that's like 37 or 38. I won't argue that.
His points, his
might be
rebounds,
his scorer.
Does he maintain 31 a game?
For those 2 years he left, for certainly.
And 94, then
94, 95, certainly. I don't know about 99 and 2000, but 94, 95, I'm 100% sure. He might even go crazier than that, Swiper.
I think the late 80s, he would have, at least doing at least 29, 32. And then those other 2 years, he's doing at least 32, 33, probably. So, yeah, I mean, Yeah, his numbers could have been ridiculous. I think that's a really good what if personally, even though that's before the 2000s. But I think that's a what if. Like, what if Jordan didn't take that hiatus? Honestly, what if obviously that's a serious thing, but what if obviously it didn't happen to his dad? I think that had a lot to do with it. Like, you know what I mean? And it would have affected me. Like if something like that would have happened, and
he's already on record saying the fact that his father passed away.
No, he was murdered. Father was murdered.
He was killed. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that to you, but like to the audience. Like if you don't know what happened, he was
100%
on the side of a road, literally. Like
100% it affected him. But I don't think that had any effect on his judgment on whether or not he was going to play anymore. He had already made it clear that he was out after they beat Phoenix. He's on record saying that he was out. But with that being said, if he stays, like how much different is that team? How much different is he? I don't think they win it 8 in a row. 2, how long does that team stay together? That's the $1 million question. How does that team stay together? How long does that team stay together with Scottie Pippen? Does he stay with them as long as he stays with them? Do they hold on to him like that? I don't know.
To move on, Mars, of this century, what's one of the biggest what ifs?
What if the refs didn't cheat in the 2018 Western Conference Finals? Legacies would be different. I know that's what this is going to come down to, how we view legacy.
You know about cheating, don't you? You know about getting cheated, Ox.
I mean, I'm surprised he didn't bring up O2, to be fair. But yeah,
Ox don't care about that. He'd be fake mad about that.
But yeah, what if the refs just clearly didn't cheat? That super team Warriors, they become beatable. They're no longer viewed as this all-time juggernaut. Like they're still going to be held in high regard, but the idea of being unbeatable will no longer be there. The Rockets obviously make the finals with their heavy push on analytics and Morey ball. James Harden goes without saying. Chris Paul goes without saying. LeBron doesn't have to play the Warriors in the finals, so maybe he wins, but more than likely he loses. James Harden is a champion. Chris Paul is a champion. It just changes a lot. It changes. Steph only has 3 rings. KD only has 1. Yeah, if the refs just ain't cheat, I think it's a hugely different landscape of the NBA, and I think James Harden will be viewed more favorably in the Dwayne Wade conversations. Not saying he'll be above Dwayne Wade, but for most people, he'll be viewed more favorably if he's an NBA champion and more than likely a Finals MVP, especially beating LeBron James. Knowing when you beat LeBron, either you get elevated to a higher level because that means you were unbeatable. Because if LeBron couldn't beat you, no one could beat you. That's how it works. So if James Harden succeeds with that, he's probably viewed in high regard. Chris Paul is probably viewed as consensus 3rd best point guard of all time by most people, as he's now a champion. It just changes a lot. So yeah, that's my biggest what if. The Rockets 2018 not being cheated
with Kevin Durant. Wow. And
yeah.
you 100% confident that they beat the Cavs that year?
I don't even think it's close.
You think they smoked the Cavs?
Destroy them.
Wow.
This is 18 or 17?
18.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mars, I'll just have a tough time believing that LeBron James loses to James Harden and Chris Paul. That's my only thing.
No, it's not LeBron James losing to James Harden and Chris Paul. It's the Cavs losing to the Rockets. That's the problem. It's not LeBron losing to James Harden. It's the Cavs losing to the Rockets. That's what's going to happen.
And see, that's the thing, though, is it's like, even when you say like the Cavs versus the Raptors, when you break it all down, it's still LeBron James versus DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry.
Well, no, but
plus
sure.
It was too much. It was too much evidence with James Harden in the playoffs against the Warriors. I mean, it was a lot of evidence with James Harden in the playoffs. And don't get me wrong. I mean, you and I have already had this conversation about James Harden playing good against the Warriors. He wasn't terrible, but to see him play the way he played against San Antonio, to see him play the way he played in the finals early on, when the idea was James Harden is young. No, this is really who he is in real life. This is, we're not letting him off the hook with this right here. This is really who he is. Mars, you and I definitely are different in that aspect. I don't think that they beat the Cavs. I don't. I do not think that they beat the Cavs, unfortunately.
I have a hard time thinking the worst defense in the playoffs is stopping maybe the best offense in the playoffs. I just have a hard time believing that. But yeah, I mean, James Harden's built up the reputation he's got for right or wrong reasons. I mean, I guess it's interesting, like the 2012 finals gets held so much against him when he was a huge reason why they even got to the finals in the first place. But we just sweep that under the rug because he played bad in the finals. When in the conference finals against the Spurs, he was like the Thunder's second best player in that series. But it's no longer relevant because he played bad against Miami. The 2017 against the Spurs is one that I think anyone would give you. It was not good. That closeout game, no Kawhi, and he plays how he played. Everyone understands that. I've gone through the Warriors series. I'm not doing that again. But if they do beat the Warriors, then it's no longer, oh, he played bad against the Warriors. It's James Harden got past the Warriors. So that reputation is no longer even there anymore because he's now beat the Warriors. And then just having blind faith in LeBron to beat the Rockets in the finals because LeBron versus James Harden. I mean, that's why you end up having people say, oh, well, LeBron's 4-6 because you keep expecting LeBron to just be able to beat teams by himself. But then when he loses 6 finals, it's, oh, well, it's the team. It's a team game. It's not all about him. But then every time he's in a series, like, well, you're not beating LeBron. We're like, make up your mind. Either LeBron is winning these series single-handedly, but then that means he's also losing them. Or it's not an individual thing, and you can't just give him all the credit when they win. It doesn't make sense that you can be like, oh, well, they're not going to beat LeBron. And then when he loses another finals, it's, oh, he didn't have enough help. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Like,
the problem that we have with that, Mars, is that we've seen him get to the finals. We've seen him go deep in the playoffs with minimal help. So that's where that logic comes from.
And lose.
Right.
Every time he got there, he lost. Right. When he did it with minimal help, he lost.
And we've seen him do that. Now, don't get me wrong. He didn't do that all the time. That didn't happen every time he was in it. Every time he was in the playoffs, it wasn't like he was by himself every time. That's just not true. But the fact that we did see him do it with minimal help, that's where that logic comes from. Now, playing with that Cavs team in 2018, which wasn't a very good team that year. I won't argue that. I don't think that they were a very good team that year. I think that they were a team full of disarray. I think they were a team that had a whole lot of problems. The fact that roster was flipped over twice within a 6-month period, and the fact that they were still able to get to the NBA championship, despite that, they still had Kevin Love was on that crew. He was an all-star. In addition to Kevin Love being on that crew, J.R. Smith is a world champion. He was their starting 2-guard in 2016 when they won the NBA championship, despite what people say about him. I mean, they didn't have an awful crew. It was just some dissension considering what happened with the roster. Now, when I think about who James was in that 18 playoffs, and I think about what James Harden was, like you just mentioned, Mars, you talk about the offense from the Houston Rockets. As good as that offense is, I didn't expect them to be as bad as they were in that game 7. I didn't expect, not game 7. That was in 18. That's correct. I didn't expect them to be that bad. So that kind of stuff happens with them. And James Harden did have a couple of stinkers in that series, not just that game. In that series, he had a couple of stinkers. Now, when I think about what the Cavs did going up against the East, in the East not being that good, that still doesn't mean that the confidence wasn't built. And they looked at the Houston Rockets like, we could beat them. Chris Paul at that point had a history of breaking down. He was already beat up in the playoffs as it was. What happens when they attack him? What happens if he breaks down again? I just have a difficult time with the way that James was, and with the Warriors getting bounced, him looking at Houston going, I don't know if we can beat them. He'd be looking at Houston going, we definitely beating them.
Yeah, he'll have faith and lose. I mean, faith can get you so far, I guess. But the 2 times LeBron has got to the finals with minimal help is 07 and 18, and both of them ended up with the Cavs getting swept. Like, it's great that, yeah, you got there, but like, it's how far can this faith in LeBron go? And then you just say, oh, well, he's gonna win because, hey, he's the best player in the series, and my best player is better than your best player, so that means we're gonna win. And then he inevitably loses because his team is clearly overmatched. And then it's, oh, well, he ain't have enough help. Like, if you're going to pick him to win the series every single time because he's the best player in the series, and then he loses, like anyone who isn't just blindly enamored with LeBron James would have seen, they were going to lose. You can't then be like, oh, well, he didn't really have a chance, but you picked him to begin with because he's LeBron. Well, that just doesn't make sense.
In 07 and 18, nobody was really picking LeBron like that. I know in 07 nobody picked LeBron. And then in 18,
because he didn't have the reputation yet.
Well, yeah, and in 18, even in 18, with all the reputation he had, it was minimal people choosing LeBron to beat those Warriors teams. And if you were picking LeBron, it was because you absolutely were just hating on the Warriors, or you didn't want to.
It's because you were glazing. They picked him. I vividly remember what was happening. This is the timeline of LeBron James finals appearances. 07, 22-year-old, no one expected them to win. They got smoked. He didn't play well. We just ignore that he didn't play well because he was young and he had no help. So we just that's what we do now. It's not, oh, he didn't win because he had no help. It's just we ignore he played horribly because he had no help. So that's what they do for 22-year-old LeBron. That's how they've switched that narrative. Then 2011, he was meant to win, even though LeBron fans are like, okay, we got to put that one up. We can't argue against that one. So 2011, yeah, that's tough. We lost. 2012, he was actually not favored to win. The Heat weren't favored to win because of how bad LeBron folded in 2011. The Thunder were actually the favorites. But like in hindsight, I mean, it was pretty obvious the Heat were better. But they weren't favored. So technically, you hear the LeBron fans bring up, LeBron's only been favored in the finals 3 times. You know why they say that? Because 2012, he wasn't favored statistically, even though anyone with a brain knows that he was a better team. So that one, cool. 2013, they picked LeBron, they picked the Heat. They won. Congratulations. 2014, even though the Spurs were the better team, everyone knew the Spurs were the better team. You know who people picked? Not the better favorites. You know who the LeBron fans picked? The Heat. You know why? Because of LeBron James. Because the Spurs didn't have a superstar and the Heat had LeBron James. They picked the Heat and they lost. And then you know what happened? Oh, the Spurs, one of the best teams ever, moving the ball, beautiful, wonderful. I understand it. Cool. 2015 happens. Kyrie goes down in game 1. You know what happens? When the Cavs went up 2-1, they said LeBron was going to beat the Warriors. Then he doesn't beat the Warriors. Ah, man, Kyrie and Kevin Love weren't there. We weren't meant to win, blah, blah, blah. But they picked the Cavs. That's why they picked the Cavs.
Were the Cavs picked to win that series? I don't remember.
I'm talking about the LeBron guys. These people who pick LeBron blindly. I'm not talking about the consensus. I'm talking about them.
It's just off the strength that he's on the crew. They win it.
Them people.
Just off the strength.
When they went up 2-1, even without Kyrie and Kevin Love, they picked the Cavs. No, they picked LeBron. Let's keep it. They picked LeBron.
Well, that's how fandom works, though.
He actually had.
And then I'm saying you can't have it both ways. I'm like, that's
the fandom isn't rational. It's fanaticism.
Okay, so I'm pointing out the irrationality. Right. Like, cool. 15, they picked LeBron. He lost. Oh, well, LeBron ain't have help. He wasn't meant to win. 16, they picked LeBron. He came back 3-1. Oh, he's the GOAT now. That's what happened. 2016 made him the GOAT. Congratulations. 17, I remember that Christmas Day game. Kyrie made the game winner. You know what happens?
I thought they had
the Cavs got their number. They got them mentally. They're going to win. Even though they got blown out on MLK Day in January. We got that number. The finals come around. They get destroyed.
That wasn't fair.
Man, it's a super team. It's a super team. Weren't meant to win, but they were still picking him.
Getting blown out.
But who?
Getting blown out. That was.
I'm trying to figure out. But who picked LeBron? And so you're saying the segment of LeBron fans, they picked LeBron in 2017, not the mass media. Well, but again, that's how any fan base works. The Cowboys, they pick the Cowboys to win. The 49ers are going to pick the 49ers to win, despite what happened. The Ravens, they're going to pick the Ravens to win. That's just the way it works, I think. And again, I'm not trying to push. I get what your overarching point is. You can't have it both ways. But I think that is the nuance of fandom. It is both ways. Like, it is both. I'm going to pick my favorite people to win. And then when they lose, because it's not based on rational thought process, there's context behind, well, if he would have had this, if he would have had that, then they would have won. But they truly shouldn't have been favored in the first place. But when you're just confident, that's just what it is. Like, I just have a belief about my team that this is how it should go. And then if it doesn't go that way, instead of actually blaming the product on the court or blaming the player for it, and again, it's not always blame needs to be attributed to it. And you know this better than anybody, almost anybody. It's that when you believe something and it doesn't come to fruition, then you're always willing to apply context as to why it didn't happen. That's just
it's
the way.
It's never black. It's never that black and white. It's not. It's never just they lost. No, it's never that.
I mean, I guess.
Of course they are.
Cool. I mean, I guess. Okay, if me pointing
out not even a disagreement.
Yeah, if me pointing out irrationality is just going to be met well. Hey, fans going to be irrational. I mean, all right, cool. Then I guess I
will admit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
I apologize, Mars. Now I will admit, in 17, I thought they had a shot. I did. I thought they had a real shot in 17. After what I saw on Christmas, I wasn't tripping on what happened when they got blown out. That was on the back end of a 5-game West Coast road trip. That was the game 5 of the West Coast road trip. So they got smoked. I thought they had a real good shot at beating them in 17. In 18, I thought they had no shot. That's why I was rooting for the Rockets.
Sure, that's like, what I'm saying. In 17, I thought the Cavs had a shot too.
I did. In 17, I thought they had a shot.
Part of my shot was I hate the Warriors. Well, 17 and 18 is different. 17, they still had Kyrie. 17, they still had K-Love. 17, it was LeBron at his apex. And
they
they
still
just
have
won
no
last
show.
year. Well, I'm saying 17
but he
was
also
different than
layered
18.
it and said that he was anti-Warriors at the time. too.
Yeah. I was so anti-Warriors, anti-KD.
Chill ain't say that.
It was.
No, I did not.
I said it.
See,
but I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like Chill was with you. He picked the Cavs. He had the Cavs too, and he didn't say that. So
the point I'm making is in 18 though, because the whole argument started around 18. In 18, nobody believed that LeBron James by himself with no Kyrie, K-Love.
Yeah, no one had them beating the Warriors.
But even 2017, I don't think it's just me. Based on my recollection of those events, unless you were a true LeBron fan and had traveled all across the country for this man,
or Warrior,
you didn't actually.
There was a lot of Warrior haters too. That
yeah, but I'm saying, but that's also rooted in nothing that's real as well. Like I'm saying, like in reality, I don't know how many people actually thought that the Warriors with Kevin Durant and Steph and Clay and Dre and Iggy and the rest of that roster were getting beat by anybody. So I'm talking about when you have a fan base that's full of irrational people, which again is fandom. And then you have player fans in particular, which is why player fandom is a whole new thing that I am just getting accustomed to over the last 10 years or so, because that just wasn't the way it was. You were from a city, you supported that city, or in Chill's case, your parent or a loved one was a fan of it. No, I'm saying that's a real thing. Like,
okay, all right,
you know, like some people, like my dad's from Baltimore, so like, you know, I easily could have been a Ravens fan, and so I'm saying that's how it works. Like in player fandom, you follow, like to this day, when Warriors fans, if you talk to them right now, why did Steph Curry not make the playoffs? Why did Steph Curry fail in the second round in 23? It ain't because of Steph. It's because he had nobody around him to help. There was not adequate help on his team, even though Steph wasn't great in that series. And there's reasons why. In 2016, when he was hampered in the NBA Finals and all that, there's reasons why, beyond injury, Steph folded down the stretch of that series. But player fans, they're not gonna like live in that reality. That's just the way it works. You know what I mean?
So that's the thing, because I know Mars talks a lot about how can we say that a team was unbeatable, but then say, oh, we thought this team had a chance. For me, once Kevin Durant got there, I was like, nobody's beating them. But when I saw, like, for instance, when Kawhi was going crazy against him that time, I was like, oh, shit, maybe they can knock him off. And then when the Pelicans went and Drew and Rajon took care of Portland the way they did, I was like, damn, maybe they can make a run for it. But still, it was like nobody's beating this team though. Like, I don't. There was never a chance. I thought the Cavs had a shot. Like it was just too much. The team had too much firepower, and they were great on defense. It wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. You're the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.